You're watching Row Weatherman. This is your tropical update. On Friday, Elsa was a relatively strong Category 1 hurricane over the Caribbean Sea. It has since been downgraded to a tropical storm with just 60-mile-an-hour sustained winds, and is now just to the south of Cuba, impacting Jamaica, Cuba, and even Haiti to a certain extent, and it is causing some very rough impacts to those islands. And it's going to be continuing towards the northwest, and it has slowed down a little bit, actually quite a bit since just a few days ago where it was barreling towards the west at 30 miles an hour. It has since cut that speed in half. And over the next 24 hours, the storm will be cutting across the island of Cuba, where a hurricane watch has been issued along the eastern half of the island, and a tropical storm warning covers most of the island, with a few areas of tropical storm watches west of the cone in certain areas. So as of right now, it appears the storm will be coming off the mountains of Cuba as a relatively large system from all the disruption around Monday afternoon or Monday evening, and then it has up to 48 hours or 36 hours to strengthen over the eastern Gulf of Mexico before it makes a second landfall, looks like just north of Tampa, early on Wednesday. And worst case scenario, that is enough time for the system, if conditions are right, to come back up to a Category 1 or even a Category 2 by the time it makes landfall on Florida's west coast. And then, according to the current forecast, the storm will come down to a tropical depression as it rides the east coast of Georgia and the Carolinas, and then eventually exits the coast. But in the meantime, it will be coming down to a tropical depression as it accelerates. Now, should this thing come back up to a hurricane, it will make it possibly as far inland as Jacksonville before losing its tropical storm force winds. And that's the type of scenario that you could potentially not just see storm surge on the west coast of Florida, but even on the east coast as the weakening system makes its way up there. And that's on Wednesday. And then the thing that's not really being talked about is the potential for this storm to really go up the east coast and cause some major problems all the way up, even in the northeast. As you can see on this map here, tropical storm force winds are possible as far north as New Jersey, and really not too far outside of New York City. Even as far north as eastern Massachusetts could get in on the action, and that would be not too far from now. On Wednesday, Elsa will be cutting across the Florida peninsula, and then by the next day, it will be coming off the coast of the Carolinas and impacting the eastern seaboard. And the storm will likely strengthen as it moves off the coast of the Carolinas and out into the Atlantic as it parallels the northeast. And that could lead to worsening conditions up there than what are already expected. And that could even include tropical storm force winds for some, as I mentioned earlier. And now let's take a look at some of the rainfall forecasts for Florida as it makes landfall. You're looking at a very wide swath of 4 to 6 inches of rain, which covers much of Florida's west coast. And then you see this little speck of 6 to 10 inches in the orange there. And what that really shows is that this 4 to 6 inches swath is a serious underestimate for the local amounts that could happen, especially if you get some heavy bands setting up over one specific area. You could easily have a foot of rain or more. In addition to the rainfall, storm surge could get close to 4 feet in some areas of Florida's west coast, including the Tampa Bay area, where with this system offshore, you could have that water pushing right into the city of Tampa off the bay with that southerly wind. And that's if Elsa stays a tropical storm. If it becomes a hurricane, you could see values much higher than that. And then you have a long stretch of 1 to 3 feet, 1 to 2 feet, and that includes the Florida Keys, and it goes all the way up and down the west coast of Florida. So this storm should not be taken lightly on either coast of Florida and all the way up the east coast. The storm has it in it to be a hurricane. It has done so in the past on its track over here, and it could very well do it again. So do not wait until the last minute. By the time the storm comes off of Cuba tomorrow, it will be too late. The storm will already be spawning its outer bands over the Florida Keys and well into South Florida. And that will only get worse throughout Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday when it finally makes landfall. There is still nothing else going on in the rest of the basin or in the Pacific Ocean, so that will do it for today's tropical update. Happy 4th of July, and to our folks in harm's way, stay safe.